Today, we're cracking open one of the most controversial and, let's be honest, ruthlessly practical books on strategy ever written. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Some people see it as a brilliant guide to getting ahead, while others see it as a handbook for the morally questionable. But either way, its ideas are undeniably powerful. So let's dive in and explore the world as seen through the 48 Laws of Power.
This quote from Machiavelli is really the perfect place to start. It's stark, it's brutal, and it just perfectly captures the kind of unflinching philosophy that Robert Greene explores in the book. This is not a world of second chances. No, it's a world where feelings are a liability, and power is pretty much the only thing that's real.
So the whole premise of the book is this. Power is an amoral game. Think of it like chess. It has rules, and it's been played the same way for thousands of years, whether you're in an ancient royal court or just a modern-day office. Now, just to be clear, we're not here to endorse these rules, but to understand them, exactly as the book lays them out.
Right, so this first section gets straight to the heart of it. The book's big argument is that these power dynamics, they're always at play, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. Ignoring them, it says, is kind of like trying to go for a swim without getting wet. It's just not going to happen. And here's the very first law, and it's a perfect example of the book's kind of backward thinking. You'd think that impressing your boss with how brilliant you are is the key to success, right? Well, the book argues the exact opposite. Your talent can actually make your superiors feel insecure, even threatened. So the real key here isn't to show off, it's to make them look more brilliant. According to this law, real power comes from knowing when to hold back. Okay, let's move on to our next theme, and this one is absolutely massive in the book Mastering the Art of Perception. Because it's not just about what you do, it's about what people think you do. Your image, your reputation, that's your most valuable asset.
And this leads to a fascinating idea about publicity, perfectly shown by the great showman P.T. Barnum. He totally understood that being ignored was the one thing that could truly kill you. He would actually invite his harshest critics to his shows, give them the best seats in the house, and welcome their terrible reviews. Why? Because he knew it was just another form of advertising. Any attention, good or bad, keeps your name in people's mouths.
So this leads to a brilliant little two-step process for managing your image. First, you have to be everywhere. You've got to establish your presence so that people can't ignore you. But then, once you've done that, you introduce a bit of scarcity by strategically withdrawing. Just like Napoleon said, familiarity breeds contempt. By making yourself a little less available, you actually increase your value and command more respect.
Here's a fantastic concept the book talks about, sprezzatura. It's this amazing Italian word for the art of hiding all the hard work, the sweat and the practice that goes into your achievements. When you make really difficult things look easy, you don't just seem talented, you seem like a force of nature. It creates this kind of powerful aura that people can't quite figure out, and that inspires a lot of awe.
Okay, so we've talked about image. Now let's shift to action. What does the book say you should do when you're dealing with competitors and enemies? Well, as you can probably guess, the strategies are direct, they're not sentimental, and they are utterly ruthless.
Let's think about a scenario we've probably all seen. You've got one person in a group, a troublemaker, a constant complainer, and they're just poisoning the well for everybody else. How do you handle that? Do you try to reason with them, maybe try to win them over?
Well, the book's answer is Law 42. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will scatter. The logic is that the trouble is coming from one single source. Trying to negotiate is just a waste of time because, in the book's worldview, people like that are basically irredeemable. So the only solution is to neutralize their influence by isolating them or removing them completely. Once the shepherd is gone, the flock, the other people they were influencing, they'll just disperse.
And this idea gets reinforced by another, even more brutal law. Crush your enemy totally. The thinking here is that an enemy you only half crush is like a wounded snake. It's going to recover, its resentment is going to grow, and it will be waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. A half measure, the book warns, just creates a way bigger problem for you later on.
All right, let's get into a more subtle aspect of power. It's not always about direct, head-on conflict. Sometimes, the greatest power comes from shaping the playing field itself, making other people act in ways that benefit you, often without them even knowing it. A key strategy here is to bait your opponent into coming to you. There's a great story about the Renaissance architect Filippo Brunelleschi. He was hired to work on this massive cathedral dome, but was forced to share credit with a rival he knew was incompetent.
So at a critical moment, he suddenly pretended to be sick and went home. Soon, the city officials realized his rival was useless without him. They were forced to go to Brunelleschi's house, begging him to come back, which he did for full control, double the pay, and all the credit. He made them come to him.
The book lays out a few specific tactics for this. You can, for instance, present a couple of choices that both secretly lead to what you want. Or you can offer one good option and one obviously terrible one, which makes their decision for them. You could also create a sense of urgency to force an indecisive person to make a move. In every case, you're creating the illusion of choice, while you're really the one in control.
This brings us to our final theme, and it's maybe the most important one of all: foresight. A victory today is completely meaningless if it leads to an even bigger disaster tomorrow. Real power lies in seeing the long game and planning all the way to the very end.
To really get this, let's look at a story from Florence. There was this huge, gorgeous block of marble, but a clumsy artist had taken a big chunk out of it, basically ruining it. For years, it just sat there collecting dust. Everyone saw it as a failed project, just a giant piece of scrap.
But then along came Michelangelo. Where everyone else saw a disaster, he saw potential. He didn't try to hide the flaw. He actually built his entire design around it. And from this ruined stone, he carved the David. And here's the crucial point. He could see the final masterpiece from the very beginning. He knew every single step it would take to get there, obstacles and all.
This quote from Herodotus is a really powerful warning. The book argues that a lot of people aren't ruined by failure, they're ruined by success. They get a short-term win, and they get so caught up in celebrating that they completely miss the consequences that are heading their way. So, to kind of bring it all together, the 48 Laws of Power describes a world that's governed by cold, hard strategy. It's all about mastering your image, neutralizing threats with brutal efficiency, controlling situations without anyone knowing it, and above all, having the foresight to plan your moves far, far in advance. And that really leaves us with this final, pretty unsettling question. The book's ultimate point is that this game is happening all the time, everywhere. So is it a game you can actually choose not to play? Or is understanding its rules essential for survival? Whether you like it or not, that's the challenge the 48 Laws of Power leaves us with.